how celibacy can magically transform your life, how it transforms you. Sex energy is the most powerful energy, the most powerful force on the planet. The evidence is that another human being can literally come from the act of sex, right? So we know that there's bonding, we know that there's exercise, we know that there's reproduction, we know that there's a transference of information between two people during sex. One of the major reasons that being celibate, meaning to go without, to abstain, right? Sexual intercourse, porno, all that. When I say celibate, that means all of those things. One of the most powerful reasons for both men and women is because that energy that you would normally give to having sex or the pursuit of it, because it takes a lot of energy for me to get on the phone and, you know, text every day and, you know, do all this because we're trying to get that ejaculate. We're trying to conquer that, at least from a male perspective, right? The primal aspect of us, the need to reproduce in us, is what's driving me. So I'll do anything. I'll get on a plane to go halfway around the world. I will spend my entire check. I'm just giving an example of the things that men do. And even women, because when that energy is there, you will move mountains to get done what it is that you're after, what it is that you desire, whether it's marriage, whether it's friends with benefits, whether it's two consenting people, no matter what it is, that energy drives people. But that energy is also creative energy. That is creative force, because we can create another human being. And so if you can create another human being from the act of sex, the energy, all the energy that goes into it, then you can create the life that you want. You can create another person. I mean, you can create another you, actually. If you can create another you in the physical sense of bringing another person into the world, you can create another you in that you can transform your image and you can create yourself into the person that you want to become, to attract. You can have all the sex you want. You can have all the money you want. You can have all the materials you desire, your heart desires, in this plane right here, by being celibate and working on yourself. So now the energy goes from pursuit, from going on dates, from spending money, from talking all day. Now you got your time and your energy back. And so if you're not depositing this time and energy, and some people are shuffling 3, 4, 5 people, you know how it is. If you're not putting all that energy into other individuals, into the pursuit or into the act of sex, or I gotta last long, or I gotta do my Kegel exercises, or I gotta take these herbs because I want to skeet to the moon, I want to blow her back, I need to go 3, 4, 5 rounds. If you're not doing that, then all of the energy stays within, and now you're harnessing the energy. And so now that career that you wanted, now you've got time. You can read books. You can build yourself, because that energy is no longer out. It's in now. So you're not wasting that energy. And by waste, especially for men, when you ejaculate, you become weaker. You're releasing a seed. And so I'm saying, metaphorically, maintain that seed. So I've been celibate. I've done it for a year. Up to 2 years before, and that was why I was trying to get my life together, why I was trying to get to the, because in truth I wasn't really generating income. I wasn't living, me personally, the way that I am. If I'm not bringing in money, if I can't live how I want to live, what's the use of me trying to have sex or do all of that? You know, you got to go out, there's some things, of course, but I mean over a period of time, if I'm not living how I want to live, man, my Johnson almost won't even get up. Because I'll be too depressed, I'll be too stressed. Now, don't take that so far. My point that I'm trying to make is that, what am I doing putting all of this energy on this pursuit when the end result is it may be short-lived? you know, we still got to hang out. You know, maybe we want to eat, maybe we want to travel, maybe we want to do something. So ideally, the parts of me, the aspects of me that were covered up, that were weak, that were covered up by the sexual interactions, those aspects can be worked on now. My conversation, now this doesn't mean that you don't speak with people, that you don't get out, you don't socialize, but the point is still that, hey, you're holding firm. You're standing tall on, you know what, I'm putting this into myself. And so now when I do, because most people are sexually exhausted. You're so sexually exhausted that you're not even fertile. That you don't even have the sexual prowess, the sexual vitality that you should have. Simply because you're burnt out. You're sexually burnt out. And men are trained by porn. And porn, because porn trains men, women are trained by men. Or women get their sexual education from men. Women get their sexual education from men. Looks like this dog doesn't want me around, but he's the one. He's about to find out if he runs up on me. But all that to say that you are really purifying yourself. This is what makes it difficult. But this will make your sexual interactions that much stronger, because I can only give you what I am. And so if I'm better as an individual and we exchange, we're downloading and uploading that information, as I once spoke about, now what I'm putting in you is much better, because I've been studying, I've been training, I've been eating better. All of these things will now go into you. My DNA, you know that you exchange DNA through sexual intercourse. You exchange the DNA. And so now who I am becomes you, because there's not a, what is it, you can't lay down with dogs and stand up without fleas. So you're becoming a better person for whoever you interact with, but more importantly for yourself, because when you become better, then you're usually going to be interacting with a different person. So now you can make the money that you want. You took 6 months, you took a year. You don't have the distraction, because that's a distraction, especially for us men. Beautiful, voluptuous, gorgeous, feminine women. That's what we love. But oftentimes we're not ready because we're so sexually depleted. This is all we can think about. You only think about the physical aspect, but you never think about the spiritual ramifications of this one, that one. Because there are spiritual ramifications when you're switching up so many different partners, because you become that person. You have to become that person. Even when you hang around the 4 or 5 people that, like they say, the 4 or 5 people that you hang around with, you become those people. And it's the same thing, it's surely the same thing when you're on the physical level, when you're exchanging on the physical. So now when you become better, if you're making good decisions, hopefully you are, then you're going to make decisions about the people that's around you. You're going to make better decisions on who you are exchanging bodily fluid with. But you need the celibacy, you need the downtime. It's like you said, you need to sit on the bench. When you were making mistakes in games, coach will say, hey, come sit on the bench, come think about it. And when you're on the sidelines, you get a different perspective about the game, because you can see the mistakes that all your teammates making. So now when you come back into the game, you're ready to go, because you see, I'm not going to go into that trap. Let me step back. Okay, let me let the game come to me. Let me not force the game. It's a lot different when you sit on the bench and then you go back in, because now you got time. During injuries, when I was playing, during injuries, when I had to sit out for 2, 3, 4, 5 games, that's when I learned the most. And guess what happened? When I went back in, my desire to execute better was at an all-time high. But I could see the game. And a lot of us, you can't see the game. And when I say the game, I'm just talking about life, how your life is unfolding. You can sit back and you can watch others. And you charging up. You're charging up, which is the key. The root chakra. A lot of us need our chakras balanced. We're off because it's all orange energy. Orange representing that desire, that sex. That's all. It's all orange energy. And so you have to, this is the root, this is your fertility. So this has to be in balance. And a lot of us, it's out of balance because of abuse. And no matter which plane you're on, the abuse of anything will lead to a dis-ease or will lead to destruction. Because it has to. Those are the laws of the universe. So the celibacy allows us to gather ourselves, allows us to improve ourselves, to put the creative energy. You wanted to study real estate, you wanted to get some apartments or 2-family flats, or whatever they call it, duplexes. You wanted to get into that where you were too busy chasing tail. And so now sitting down allows you to better come forward. My point is that all of the energy is going to where it needs to be, and that's just to transforming you. That's where it's going. It's not going out. When you are putting that energy out, yes, and under the right circumstances, sex is very beneficial. Like we said, stress relief. It's helping you to connect whoever you're with. But if your energy is going out to all of these different people, you're connecting. Now you're connecting yourself. You're pretty much creating spiritual and soul ties with all these different people. And so now you're behaving like people that you didn't even, you didn't even know that they behave this way. Because you've been with however many people, and now those energies are on you. And so that's why it's beneficial to decompress, to chill out, to sit down. Now I got time to think, to sit and think. Now I got time to really understand what is it that I want. But if I'm chasing all the time, and by the way, that which you chase, it means that it's running from you if you have to chase it. You want to be attracting. So getting better is the way to have the life that you want, because you're ultimately going to attract and you're going to magnetize. That's the idea. That's the entire idea behind this. Now, when you say this, because the world is so tainted, when you say this to many people, they think that you're crazy, because this is an evil world. So don't feel bad if you're one of the chosen ones, if you are a person that thinks differently and you find yourself by yourself all the time, and the things that you say align with nature, the things that you think align with nature, right? The things that you think align with nature, but they don't align with the world, they don't align with man. And so you will be outcast, you will be called this, you will be called that, but in the end, what matters is that you're historically right and that you're in alignment with nature. That's the most important thing. This rain is coming down, so pardon the body on the noise. But this is what it's about, being in alignment with nature. Normal and natural are two different things. Normal are the concepts of man. Natural are the laws of nature, the laws of God. That's natural, being in alignment with that. And so taking a break and considering who you want to be and recharging your battery, that's a natural thing. Only lions, tigers, bears, hyena, animals do not just have sex for recreation. Now, I know we're a little bit different because we have this right here, so we have the ability to reason. We're not just operating off instinct. But you're not going to see a lion just recreationally having sex. They're procreating. It doesn't mean that we have to be like lions, but the point is that they're not abusing that. And so you always see a lion, he's on point, testosterone. Right? He's always on point. Lion, when you think of lion, you think of dominance. From a male perspective. You can even say female, the lioness. So what I'm trying to get you to understand is that you may be criticized. You may be, oh man, I can't, because I've heard it all. Oh man, I can't do that. I can't go without. Listen, if you're married, this is not for you. We're not even speaking to you. But if you're single and you want to build yourself, this is it. This is a great way to do it. If you've been going every day, if you took a month off, that would be good. Because the question that you have to ask yourself is, what have I gained? What are the pros? See, we forget that a child could come out of there. How many children are born that, let's say, people didn't necessarily plan for? I'm not going to use it. They didn't plan for that. And it's evidence because they're not in the children's lives at all. So there's a lot of cons to, you know, being promiscuous, to being irresponsible, sexually irresponsible. Because with all things comes responsibility. And this is me, a guy that played professional sports for years. That's me telling you. So the things that I'm sharing based upon experience. I'm sharing based upon, I've gone through a lot of this stuff. I've been around the world. Let me just say that. 60-something countries. So I have a good perspective on these things. I'm not somebody that's saying, hey, do this. No, I'm a person that was in the fold. I'm not a smoker. I'm not a drinker. But beautiful women, good women, that's what a brother most loves, right? And so control was the most important thing that I had to have and continue to learn over time. You can't have it all. I've never been a guy that's just jumping from this one, this one, this one, this one. But I have had multiple women at the same time. Not like in one day or anything like that, but, you know, dating multiple women. And I'm telling you that when you pull back and you take that time, at first it's challenging. It's the same thing with the semen retention. Everybody's talking about semen retention. It's the same thing. At first it's difficult, but after a while with anything, you get used to it, you get accustomed to it. And so it's nothing like going in with a fully charged system being able to perform. During that time, you're not just, now when you are celibate, you're not just sitting down, eating, getting big, you know, you're not doing that. Everything is meant to help. You're spending time in nature, you're thinking, you're training. You are doing different things, you're doing those things that you've always wanted to do. You're working on weaknesses. This is key. You work on weaknesses, the parts of your life that you know you're not strong in. You seek help. You seek help. That's the point. Seeking help, there's nothing wrong with that. So you look at, where am I off at? Now I know I've been dropping the ball with these relationships, so what do I need to do? What do I need to do? I know I'm not performing at my business or at my job. I know I'm not as good as I would like to be socially. Read up on things. Sit back, chill. That sex energy is something else. It is powerful. It is very powerful. It'll make you do things that you'll be just on it and think about something, especially as a man. When you ejaculate, all of that goes away. When you ejaculate, it all goes away. And now you got that the clarity, right? Now you got the clarity. You were wanting something that you thought that you wanted and you didn't. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. So it's not even about being perfect. What I'm suggesting is the recharging of the battery. And essentially the heart and the spirit is what I'm asking you to recharge. And by doing that, you can look at things differently. And you can recharge your life, ultimately. Because sex is the thing. Why do they use sex in commercials? Why do they, sexual innuendo, all these things, that tension, that sexual tension is what drives us. All you gotta do is go on Instagram, look at the top, look at all these Instagram accounts. It's booty everywhere. And so, you know, I may be in there scrolling like, damn, let me get off. Let me get off. Let me get off. And you steady strolling. One more, one more, one more, or one more. Point being, or women, you see guys, you know, with their shirts off and all that, and it's a natural thing, but you don't have to act on every single thing, because that is a distraction. And it can keep you. How many people have lost so much because they didn't have the sexual discipline. Entire families, entire fortunes, half their fortune, maybe their life, screwing somebody else's wife or husband. There's a lot of things that's surrounding this stuff that you come out of it with a new frame of thought. It doesn't mean you can't slip back in, but you come out of it. Same thing with fasting. You come out of fasting with a different thought process on food. Your body feels different. Your spirit is cleaner. I'm going to talk about that in another video in relation to the food. So the celibacy, abstaining from sex, abstaining from porn, all that, you can put all that together. Jacking off, masturbation. Put all that in the same bottle. You abstain from these things. And then you see what you have left. You see where you stand in life. And you start to make those adjustments. You start changing. You'll see. You'll see. This rain is coming down. And it's something that you don't have to discuss. You don't really have to discuss with people. You can just kind of live on it. Because that is oftentimes I see that when you in this world, because this world is different, when you start to share concepts that are not typical, you face criticism for it. Rather than have you face the criticism. If somebody asks me, I'm always sharing. I'm always the guy with my people that I'm sharing it, and it looks different. Then in the end, a year, 2 or 3 later, they're like, man, you were right. You was right about that. But it doesn't do anything for me to be right. I tried to explain this to you 2 or 3 years ago. And so sometimes you're a little bit early on things, but it's okay. Because you're never too early for nature. You're never too early for nature. You're never too early to recharge your spirit. You're never too early to give your body a rest, to allow your body to rest. You're never too early to get your mind straight. Or even too late. Because even if you're 65, you can still do this. It doesn't matter. You're only going to benefit. This is what I explain to people in the gym. When you're lifting so much, the strength, the muscle building comes in the recovery. When you're resting is when you get stronger. You eat good, you rest, you've done your reps, you already put in the work. Now it's time to rest. How many reps have you had of stroking? Of sexual, and how many reps have you had? You already know how to do that. But what you probably don't know how to do, what most people don't know how to do, is they don't know how to rest and allow their bodies the rejuvenation process that it really deserves. To allow the zinc to refill in the body, allow the selenium, allow the spirit, to get all these people up off you. Because your body has been interacting with different people. You can take a rest. It's not going to hurt. It's going to do the opposite. How long is up to you? Again, if you're married, if that's something you want to do with your partner, you guys choose to do that, that's up to you, but you don't really have to. It all depends. I just know that it takes the focus, because sometimes sex in your life, it can cover up a lot of foul behavior. It's like money. Certain people, because they make a lot of money, a lot of things are overlooked. And you see that in relationships too. Like the relationship is really terrible, but all they have is the sex. And that's really nothing to build your relationship on, principally because that's like 2% of the time of the relationship. You're not having sex every day, 4, 5, 6, 7 times a day. If you were to do it by the time, the amount that that you're having sex, especially once you pass 30 or so, even 25 or so, in a relationship, people have to live their lives, so sex happens this much. So you're making decisions based upon the sex, just because you can ejaculate or you can climax. You're staying in stuff, and the sex is covering all of that up. But when you walk away from that, when you step out of that, and you refrain from it, you can see clearly. And you can see that this relationship is not for you. Or this person is not for, dealing with this person is not for you. You can see clear on the paths that you need to take in life. So this is ultimately the things that it can do, the celibacy can do. You can receive messages from the Creator more. So you start to build yourself spiritually, which is the most important part. Because you, the part that I can't see, that's who you are. That's the spirit. Because you are a spirit. As we've already said, you're not this. So when the spirit gets healthy, the body gets healthy. And the body, which usually is collateral damage for decisions, if you have you go out and you get an STD, a sexually transmitted disease, or even a spiritually transmitted disease, the body is still the collateral. If you have diabetes, the body begins to deteriorate, and that dampens the spirit. So the body is the collateral damage for the decisions that you make, which is why going celibate is a great thing, because you're not putting your body in harm's way of STDs, for sure. And now you're resting, and you're not putting your body in harm's way of spirits, because you don't know somebody. And now you've connected on that level. You've exchanged DNA on that level. So again, I've done it for a year, up to 2 years. Up to 2 years. Because quite frankly, man, if I don't have nothing, like I said, if you ain't really generating the income, you ain't living how you living, if you were to bring a child into the world under those circumstances, things are just going to get worse. Because now you have another individual relying upon you. And now that's what creates desperation. Or if you go out and you get an STD, the world is changed a lot. You go out and you get STD because it's liberation stuff. Now everybody is sleeping. You got people out here with 100, 200, 300. I see that in a lot of women. I see that online a lot. Not pointing out the women, because men, we always have been carnal. But the point being is, you go out and you have a child, and let's say your life wasn't what you wanted it to be. Now, it could have the opposite effect. It could scare you straight. That's another point that I must say. But it usually makes things worse, typically, because now the pressure is on. You got another individual depending upon you. So, yeah, try the celibacy. It can transform you. Most importantly, it can help you to think clearly. And I think that that's what most of us lack. The ability to think clearly, to rationalize, to accept criticism, to understand situations, because we're a product of our choices, not necessarily always our environment. Choice after choice after choice after choice will determine where you are. After all of those choices, you make good choices, you're usually going to be in a good situation. You make bad choices, usually going to be in an unfavorable situation. A bad situation, quote unquote. So this is the part that, you know, with all this porn and all this stuff that's out here, this is stuff that I know that people need, but it's not going to be at the forefront of all conversations. It's going to be shunned, because the people that are listening to that message, it's like when I'm explaining to people, hey, stop smoking. Stop smoking so much. It's not beneficial for you to smoke so much. You know how much criticism I receive when I share, hey, fall back on the weed, fall back on the cigarettes, fall back on the vaping, whatever it is, the hashi, all these different things that people are doing. The hookah, fall back on all these things. You know how much criticism? But it's to be expected, because this is the way of the world. So same thing with celibacy. You recommend that. They like, what? Man, you crazy? You think I'm going to stop screwing? Because that's where their mind is at. Some people have convinced themselves that, and it's just programming. All of it's just programming. We know that. It's just programming, because repetition of a message constitutes mental programming. And so if this is the only thing that you see, day after day, time after time, this is what will become your life. Whether it's good or bad, because to you, good or bad, what is that? This is what I know. So if you're introducing something else to the fold, I'm not trying to hear it. Because that's wrong, because this is what I've been doing. So abuse. Pull back on the jacking off so much, on the masturbation so much, on the making yourself climax so much. It relieves stress. I'm not saying it's not good to do. You can do it, but overboard. You got some people out here, they're ejaculating 3-4 times a day to porn. Or they're ejaculating 2 or 3 times a day every time they're having sex. Which is maybe like 3-4 times a week. So you ejaculating 2 or 3 times. It wasn't meant for that. That was meant to procreate. That was meant to bring another individual into the world or to bond with somebody. So it doesn't mean that you have to ejaculate each and every time out. You can still do your thing, but you can reserve or preserve. That's on the men's side, the male side, of course. So you hear more women practicing celibacy. Typically when they get out of relationships, or they just, you know, maybe they're not that sexually promiscuous. And so they'll go 2, 3, 4, 5 years without, you know, being active with somebody. So usually women are more at risk for these STDs, principally because of the way that the vagina is constructed. Men have them less, but men seem to pass them more. Because for it to travel up through the urethra, the tract, through the penis, it's a little bit different than the yoni. The phallus is different from the yoni. Phallus being penis, yoni being vagina. It's constructed differently, anatomically different, which makes women more susceptible. So women, for sure, you want to make sure that you are exchanging those bodily fluids with somebody that's of substance. That's key. You have to make sure of that. Because you get pregnant, it's 9 months, you get to run around like that for 9 months. You know, we can impregnate and we can keep it. We can impregnate 9 women in 9 months, or 90 women in 9 months, technically. Which is still not good for us, which is why I'm recommending celibacy for everyone. Because you get into a situation, you got all of this, you don't want to pull out, you don't want to get into the process of creating all this karma. You got all these children that don't like you and all that. Not worth it. Not worth it. You got however many years you got on this sojourn. What is 6 months? What is a year? Like that's no time to sit on the bench, to sit out, to evaluate, to improve. The time is going to go by regardless. Time will go by regardless. Whether you believe it or not, as long as you're alive, the time will go by. If the average lifespan is 75, 77 years, what is 6 months to a year to change your life? To sit on the bench and say, you know what? Let me get myself together. Even a year would be longer than most people could even have imagined. They can't imagine doing that. Some people can't even imagine going a week without sex. To a month is like, what? When you mention semen retention to a lot of these guys, when you mention a month without sex to certain women, they're like, what? So all of our, there's the reality, and then there's our realities. And what we want to get more in alignment with is the natural reality, the natural order of things in terms of what's best for us, which aligns with nature. Celibacy is a powerful tool that can transform you, that will transform you. You go into it with the right mind. You understand that discipline is needed. Discipline brings you rewards. you're going to get everything you need from it. Peace.